my name is Zaak Kerstetter with KMG Academy in Boulder, Colorado, and welcome to another one of the KMG video series, where every week we take a look at a different topic or concept in Ableton Live, or just something that I think is cool that has to do with music production. And recently I looked at a number of different Max for Live devices, including the Shaper and the LFO device, which I think are really amazing, and it got me started thinking about other Max for Live devices that I really enjoy. And so today I want to talk a little bit about the Euclidean Sequencer. This is up there with both LFO and Shaper as one of my absolute favorite all-time Max for Live devices. This is the first Max for Live device that we are going to take a look at that's not free. It's about $10 to buy. It's made by a guy named Alkman. We will put the link in the description below, but I definitely recommend checking this out because it is totally worth it. So this is going to be a Euclidean sequencer, and the way Euclidean sequencing works is you essentially have a set amount of time, or set number of steps, and you are going to try to evenly divide up those steps with different notes or different parts of your sequence. And so this is both visually very appealing as well as just super useful in a lot of different situations. So we're going to take a look at how to apply this to percussion, as well as how to build some melodic sequences using the Euclidean sequencer, which I think is really where it absolutely shines. It's great at both, but and originally when I first bought this, I used it a lot for percussion, and now I'm really finding a lot of uses for it in the melodic mode. But we'll take a look at that in a minute. Let's take a look at what's going on here. So in the center, we have our sequence, and we can have up to 4 sequences happening simultaneously. I have the extra sequences turned off for right now, so I can focus on one at a time, but we'll be layering those in later on. So here we have our blue sequence. Right now we have one event, which is this blue dot right here. And then these kind of gray dots are part of our sequence that do not have an event going on. And this is just gonna be sending the C1 note out to this drum rack that's just full of shakers and percussive sounds. So when I hit play, it's gonna start sequencing it. And each time I get to one of those blue dots, it's gonna play it, right? And here we have the number of steps in our sequence. So if I have more steps in our sequence, it takes a longer time to loop. And here we have the number of events. And like I mentioned, this is going to try to evenly space out these events or these notes as much as possible. So if I increase this to 2, there's 2 evenly spaced out events. They're not quite evenly spaced out because I have an odd number of events, right? I have 9 of them. But if I change this to 8, now they're evenly spaced out. So once again, if I move this to say 3, it's going to try to evenly space them out as much as possible. And I can keep going through this, 4, every other note, 5 of them. And you can see it just creates different rhythms for me. Like that. And so we can change the number of steps as well as the number of events within those steps. The rotation here is just going to rotate the sequence through the circle. So if I change this, you can see it's just moving it one over to the one clockwise each time I adjust this, which is pretty cool. Other than that, I can change whether it goes forwards or reverse. So right, this is going forwards through our sequence, or I can make it go reverse, or I could go backwards and forwards. I can also randomize it. You can do like lots of cool fun stuff with it. And of course I can change the note. So if I don't want this to play this particular shaker 808, I can adjust this to be whichever sound I want. So that by itself is pretty fun, but really where this gets interesting is when you start layering multiple sequences together. So let's turn on the green one. The green one's sending to a different sample within my drum rack. And right now there's 0 events, so we don't hear anything, but if I start turning this up, it's gonna start playing them together. And I can start changing the steps as well as the number of events to create these cool, like kind of polyrhythmic composite rhythms that are really fun to play around with. So I'm kind of liking that. Let's add in the next one. And let's turn up our steps, or our events. Maybe I want a different sound out of this one, so I can change this one. And you can see this one's going a different direction, so I can choose which direction it goes in. I could rotate it a little bit. I can also resync them by hitting that button there. Let's add another one on top of it. Let's pick a different note for this one. So really quick, really easy, really fun way to create cool, interesting rhythmic compositions without a lot of effort. And you get a lot of like kind of groove and kind of an off-time feel to a lot of these sounds, because some of them are going to be on the grid and some of them are going to be a little bit off the grid because it's not really grid-based. But it can still work and give yourself a little bit of swing to your percussion without doing a lot of effort to make it work. So super fun. I like to start off with like, 1 or 2 sequences going on at a time, get those dialed in, and then kind of layer in other ones as I see fit. And then I have, using this rack, that's just a bunch of shaker sounds, but it works great with all kinds of different percussion, metallic hits, whatever you want. But really, really useful, really fun, really pretty, very like intuitive on how to start just like jamming out and making cool sounds with it. So I definitely recommend trying that out for percussion. In addition, like I said, I also want to take a look at how we can use this for melodic sequences. So if I just add a Euclidean sequencer, and in this case I'm using a little bit of tension here to create like a nice bell sound. And let's unmute this. It's just playing one note. And I could like layer in multiple notes and make some kind of like cool, interesting sequence that way. That could work. However, what I'd like to do instead is hit this sequencer button right here. This opens up this whole extra sequencer side that I didn't even know about for a long time when I first started using this. So this allows you to not just play sequences, but also program in notes for those sequences. So right now we have just our blue sequence going, and we can adjust between our different sequences here to see what's going on. And then here's some notes. So I'm playing, so we got an F, we got a D, and we got a G. And you can see it's just sequencing through them, and I can start customizing the events and steps and all that stuff. So if I start playing with the events, it adds another note in there. It sounds kind of pretty. Let's turn that one off, and then let's go to the next one. This is our green sequence. Cool, let's take that, and then we'll layer the two of them together. And like literally I didn't do any work to this at all. I just kind of like plugged in some sequences, and I get this really cool polyrhythmic, interesting combination of these notes that sounds like I put a lot of effort into writing this melody. I didn't have to do anything. And I can change the events again to kind of play around with it, see what happens. And you'll just want to make sure that the notes within the various sequences are within key with each other, and then you should be fine. I'm being kind of lazy here and just doing C major, so everything's just going to be the white notes. And I can go into, say, our yellow sequence, and let's add that in. You can also pitch them up and down by octave by using these arrow buttons here. So this will allow you to tune things up and down, which makes it really easy. So that way I can have this yellow sequence be a lower octave. Maybe we'll take this one, pick the red one, and we'll move that up 2 octaves. Let's do it here. So that might be too many notes going on at once, so let's tone some of these down. Have them go in different directions. Resync them if I need to. Really fun, really easy. I found it works well with percussive melodic sounds, something like this bell sound that has like a nice transient to it. But you could put this on anything you want, synthesizers, and create some really cool stuff without having to, again, like put in a lot of work to figure out which notes you want to play. You just plug in some notes as long as they're in key, and then play with the timings and just start shifting these knobs around and just generate lots of really cool, really pretty sounds, or lots of really cool, interesting percussive sounds if you're just using it in the regular kind of Euclidean sequencer mode. Both are excellent. I highly recommend trying out both of them, but I've been really having fun using the sequencer mode for the more kind of like pitched material recently. And it's been opening up a lot of doors for just creating lots of cool stuff right on the fly, which is really, I think, one of the benefits of a lot of these Max for Live devices is just being able to like get in there, turn a few knobs, have some fun with it, and just make something cool out of it. So thanks for watching. Hopefully you enjoyed that. I definitely recommend checking out this device. We'll have the link below in the description so you can go grab it. Totally worth it for 10 bucks. Just gives you lots of really creative, interesting options out there. So yeah, thanks for watching, and keep an eye out for more videos. We'll be coming out with these every single week. And feel free to let us know if there's any topics that you would like to see us do a little thing on, or any other requests for how we can improve, and we'll be sure to take a look at it. Thanks for watching.